In 30 years working here, I've never seen anything like this. The words escaped in a broken whisper from Maria Rodriguez's lips, while silent tears traced familiar paths down her cheeks. Her experienced hands trembled imperceptibly. Hands that had comforted thousands of families, that had held surgical instruments in emergencies, that never betrayed emotion. But today was different. The hallway camera captured only a fragment of the moment. The close-up of her face revealed something that few could name. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't joy. It was something much deeper. Something that completely redefines our understanding of what's possible when humanity finds its purest purpose. 72 hours earlier, Oakland Children's Hospital awakened, as it had always awakened for the past 43 years. The unmistakable aroma of hospital disinfectant, mixed with strong coffee from the third-floor cafeteria, created an olfactory signature you would recognize anywhere in the world. It was the smell of routine, the smell of controlled normalcy. The rhythmic sound of heart monitors echoed through the corridors like a mechanical symphony of life. Beep, beep, beep. Each pulse a reminder that, inside there, small hearts fought gigantic battles. The golden light of March dawn filtered through the wide windows of the main corridor, creating geometric patterns on the polished linoleum floor that reflected decades of careful steps. Dr. Sarah Chen walked with the precision of someone who had transformed 15 years of medicine into pure art. Her steps whispered against the floor while she mentally reviewed the medical charts she carried. Pediatric cardiologist. Each word in her professional title carried the weight of lives that depended on her daily decisions. 15 years, 5,475 days of hopes, fears, miracles, and losses she preferred not to count. You can perceive that something in Dr. Chen's routine was different this morning. Her eyes, normally focused and determined, carried a subtle concern that only someone experienced in reading human signs could detect. Maria Rodriguez organized medications with the efficiency of someone who could do it with eyes closed. Head nurse for 18 years, she knew every corridor, every room, every story those walls kept. Her hands moved automatically, separating morning doses while her mind already processed the day's challenges. Room 307. Adjust. Pain medication. Room 312. Talk to parents about the afternoon procedure. Room 314. Room 314. She stopped for a moment, the medicine box suspended in air. How long had it been since she saw Marcus truly smile? 3 weeks? A month? The boy who used to draw basketball plays on any paper he found now barely had energy to hold a pencil. James Thompson prepared the recreation room with his characteristic enthusiasm. Therapeutic recreation technician, he firmly believed that healing happened as much through joy as through medicine. The room walls were decorated with colorful drawings made by the children themselves. Castles, superheroes, happy families, and many, many basketballs. The large-screen television was tuned to the sports channel. It was playoff season, and even children who could barely sit made sure to follow along. Oakland Children's Hospital functioned like a Swiss watch. Medications at 8 in the morning, medical rounds at 9, therapies at 10, family visits allowed at noon. Each schedule, each protocol, each procedure had been developed over decades to create an environment where healing could happen within controlled and predictable parameters. But today, you can feel that something was about to break this predictability permanently. In the pediatric cardiology wing, where the children with the most critical conditions stayed, the silence was different. It wasn't the silence of peace, but the silence of waiting. Small hearts working beyond their capacities, families whispering prayers in different languages, doctors making decisions that no medical school can teach completely. The Room of Hope, as the children had nicknamed the recreation room, kept its television always tuned to Golden State Warriors games. No matter the time, no matter if it was preseason or finals. It was an unofficial agreement between staff and patients. While the Warriors played, hope would remain alive within those walls. And then there were the special visitor protocols. Strict regulations that controlled when and how public personalities could visit patients. Forms in triplicate. Administrative authorizations. Security coordination. A process that normally took weeks, sometimes months, to be approved. You can perceive that these protocols existed for good reasons, but sometimes good reasons collide with urgent needs. Dr. Chen stopped in front of room 314. The medical chart in her hands seemed too heavy for its physical dimensions. Marcus Williams, 8 years old. Severe dilated cardiomyopathy. On the transplant list for 6 months. Prognosis. She breathed deeply before entering. The boy was awake, as he always was awake at this time. Insomnia was a common side effect of the medication, but Marcus never complained. Instead, he drew. Always drew. Maria sighed imperceptibly as she passed by room 314. Through the half-open door, she could see Marcus with his notebook on his lap, pencil moving in weak but determined strokes. She knew he was drawing plays. Even with hands trembling due to medications, even with constant fatigue, he continued planning how he would win when he returned to the school courts. If he returned. During that morning's recreation, some children seemed less animated than usual. The group's collective energy, something James monitored intuitively every day, was lower. Not dramatically, but enough for someone who knew the signs. And then, at 11:47 in the morning, the nursing station phone rang. Maria answered distractedly, expecting another routine call. Pharmacy confirming medication. Laboratory with test results. Family asking about visiting hours. Oakland Children's Hospital. Nursing. Maria speaking. The voice on the other side was professional, but carried a contained urgency that immediately captured her complete attention. "This is Jennifer, from the Golden State Warriors organization. I'm calling about a special situation that, well, it's something that's never been done before." Maria's pencil stopped in the middle of a note. In 18 years of hospital work, "never been done before" were words she had learned to respect and fear in equal measure. A special situation? It involves one of your patients, Marcus Williams, and we need to break some protocols. Maria's world stopped completely. The sound of heart monitors seemed to get louder. The smell of disinfectant more intense. The echo. Light from the windows brighter. She looked instinctively toward room 314. "He has no idea what's about to happen," she whispered, more to herself than to the phone. From the other side of the line, Jennifer continued. "We have 72 hours to organize everything. And you need to know, this is going to change not just Marcus's life. It's going to change all of your lives." Maria hung up the phone and remained motionless for long seconds, the corridor silence amplifying the sound of her own breathing. Her legs moved before her mind completely processed what she had just heard. Quick steps, determined, echoing on the polished linoleum toward room 314. You can perceive that this wasn't about a common celebrity visit. The urgency in Jennifer's voice carried something deeper, something that transformed possible good news into a race against something no one wanted to name. 72 hours. Why exactly 72 hours? Why not next week? Why not when? Marcus was feeling better? The answer was on the other side of room 314's door. Marcus Williams was sitting in the hospital bed, his back supported by pillows carefully arranged to facilitate his breathing. His small fingers, slightly bluish at the tips due to compromised circulation, held a pencil with the determination of someone 3 times his age. The notebook on his lap was open to a page filled with diagrams. They weren't typical children's drawings. They were sophisticated, tactical schemes. Basketball plays drawn with geometric precision that would impress professional coaches. Arrows indicating movements, numbers marking positions, small notes written in careful letters, pick and roll, iso play, motion offense. Even with hands trembling due to cardiac medication, each line was traced with purpose. Dr. Chen observed from the door for a moment before entering. In 15 years of medicine, she had learned to read signs that textbooks don't teach. Marcus's specific pallor today was different from last week. More accentuated. More definitive. "Good morning, Marcus? Working hard again?" The boy raised his eyes, a weak but genuine smile lighting up his thin face. "Dr. Chen, I was thinking, when I get out of here, I'm going to teach these plays to the school team. They don't know how to do a pick and roll properly. When I get out of here." The words floated in the air like a prayer everyone pretended to believe would be answered. Maria entered, silently, carrying the morning medications. She had known Marcus since he arrived at the hospital 6 months ago. She had seen his gradual transformation from a normal, active child to this. But his personality remained intact. His hope remained intact. Perhaps that was what broke everyone's heart the most. "Marcus, dear, your mother is coming to visit you this afternoon, right?" "Yes. She said she's bringing news about the transplant list. I bet they found a heart for me." Maria and Dr. Chen exchanged a look over Marcus's head. A look that carried 6 months of frustrated hopes, tests that didn't bring good news, and a transplant list that seemed endless. Elena Williams arrived at the hospital at 2 in the afternoon, as she had arrived every day for 6 months. Single mother, she had transformed her life into a routine that orbited completely around room 314. Work early in the morning, hospital in the afternoon, home only to sleep a few hours before repeating everything again. Dr. Chen met her in the corridor before she reached her son's room. "Elena, we need to talk about additional options." Elena's expression changed instantly. In 6 months, she had learned that additional options was medical code for traditional options aren't working. Options? What kind of options? Sometimes, medicine isn't just about medications and surgeries. Sometimes it's about giving meaning to the time we have. Elena felt her legs weaken. She knew. Deep down, she had always known. But hearing between the lines of what Dr. Chen was saying made everything real in a way she wasn't prepared to face. How much time? Weeks, maybe less. The silence that followed was broken only by the distant sound of heart monitors from other rooms. Meanwhile, in room 314, something extraordinary was happening. Marcus had closed the play's notebook and was reaching for a pile of papers under the pillow. Papers that no one from the medical team had seen before. With careful movements, he removed a wrinkled sheet, obviously handled many times. It was a letter, handwritten in his careful 8-year-old's handwriting. Dear Steph Curry, the letter began. My name is Marcus, and I am in the hospital. I am not writing to ask you to visit me because I know you are very busy. I am writing to ask for something different. Maria, who had returned to check if Marcus had taken his medications, noticed the papers for the first time. What do you have there, dear? Marcus quickly hid the letter, but not before Maria saw some words. Other children. Never give up. Help. It's just a project I'm doing. What kind of project? Marcus hesitated. For 6 months he had kept this secret. But something in Maria's gentle expression made him decide that maybe it was time to share. I'm doing a campaign to help other children like me. He pulled out a manila paper folder from under the mattress. It was filled with drawings, but they weren't basketball plays. They were posters, flyers, campaign materials created with the seriousness of an adult and the creativity of a child. Be a hero. Donate organs was written in colorful letters at the top of a poster. Drawings of hearts, with arrows indicating from one person to another. Statistics carefully copied from websites that Marcus had accessed on the recreation room computers. Maria felt the air escape from her lungs. Marcus, how long have you been working on this? Since I arrived here. I researched and discovered that many children die waiting because there aren't enough donors. So I thought, if I can't get a new heart, at least I can help other children get theirs. The letter to Steph Curry wasn't a request for help. It was an invitation to join the mission. Could you help me spread the message? The letter continued. You don't need to know me. You just need to help other children never give up. You can teach people that they can be heroes too, even without being famous. Maria was reading over Marcus's shoulder, silent tears running down her face. In 18 years of nursing, she thought she had seen everything, but she had never seen an 8-year-old child terminally ill, dedicating his last energies to save other children. Marcus, why did you never send this letter? Because I wanted to finish all the materials first, and because I think he must be too busy saving basketballs to save real lives. At that moment, Maria completely understood what she had to do. Elena entered the room at that exact moment, still trembling from the conversation with Dr. Chen. She saw the papers scattered, saw the tears in Maria's eyes, saw the secret project her son had developed during months. My God, Marcus, you knew, didn't you? Marcus looked at his mother with a maturity no child should possess. I always knew, Mom. That's why I wanted to make sure I did something important before. You know. Elena approached the bed and hugged her son. The campaign materials scattered between them like a bridge between hope and reality. Maria left the room silently, Marcus's letter in her hands. In the corridor, she took her personal phone and started typing. She didn't call the Warriors' official channels. She didn't follow protocols. Instead, she opened Instagram and posted the photo of the handwritten letter with a single hashtag. Help Marcus. Help. In less than 2 hours, the post had been shared more than 10,000 times, and Steph Curry, relaxing at home after the afternoon practice, stopped scrolling through his feed when he saw a letter written by a child who didn't want to meet him, but wanted to save him. Time stopped. Steph Curry read the letter once, then again, and once more. Each word handwritten with the careful precision of a child who knew his words mattered. You can teach people that they can be heroes too, even without being famous. In 15 years of professional career, he had never read something that hit him with such force. Curry got up from the couch, phone still in hand, and started walking around the room. His mind processed information at accelerated speed. An 8-year-old child, terminally ill, creating a campaign to save other children, not asking to meet him, but inviting him to a mission. He called Jennifer, his public relations advisor, before even completely forming the plan in his mind. Jennifer, that boy from the hospital, Marcus Williams. Curry? How did you know about? It doesn't matter how I knew. What matters is that I'm going there. Now. Steph, you have commitments this week and the hospital protocol. Cancel everything and forget the protocol. Jennifer had known Curry for enough years to recognize when arguing would be useless. There was a determination in his voice she had never heard before. What exactly do you want to do? I don't know yet, but it's going to be something that's never been done before. Quick montage, Curry. Canceling meetings. Jennifer making frantic calls. Equipment being loaded into vans. A well-oiled machine moving toward a goal no one yet completely understood. At the hospital, Maria obsessively checked the Instagram post. 15,000 shares. 20,000. 25,000. Comments were arriving faster than she could read. Stories from other families. People registering as donors in real time. Marcus's project was going viral in a way not even he had dreamed. But Marcus was getting worse. Dr. Chen observed the monitors with growing concern. Blood pressure was dropping, heart rhythm becoming more irregular. Marcus's small body was reaching the limit of its fighting capacity. How much time does he have? Elena asked, her voice barely able to form the words. Days. Maybe hours if there's too much stress. Elena looked at her son, who continued obsessively organizing his campaign materials, oblivious to the medical urgency happening around him. He can't know. Not yet. Not when he's so close to seeing his project come to life. At 5 in the afternoon, a procession different from anything Oakland Children's Hospital had ever seen began to arrive. It wasn't just Curry and Jennifer. There was video production equipment. There were other Warriors players. There were representatives from organ donation organizations. There was a technical team carrying things no one could identify. Maria watched from the second-floor window, incredulous. What the hell are they? Planning? The hospital administration was in total panic. Dr. Harrison, medical director, was pacing back and forth in his office, phone glued to his ear. They can't just arrive here and do what exactly? Nobody told me what they're planning to do. Curry entered the hospital at 5:47 in the afternoon. Not as a celebrity. Not as a famous athlete visiting patients for a public relations photo. He entered as a man with a mission that consumed every fiber of his being. Jennifer tried to keep up with his pace as he headed directly to the elevators. Curry, we need to talk to administration first. There are protocols. The only protocol that matters now is saving lives, and we have approximately 12 hours to do something impossible. 12 hours? Why 12 hours? Curry stopped in front of the elevators and turned to Jennifer with an expression she would never forget. Because after that, it might be too late. He knew. Somehow, he knew Marcus was dying. The Audrey elevator went up to the 3rd floor in total silence. The doors opened to reveal Maria waiting in the corridor, holding Marcus's original letter. "You really came," she said, her voice mixing disbelief and gratitude. "How could I not come? Where is he?" Maria guided them down the corridor, passing other rooms where children had pressed their faces to the doors upon realizing something extraordinary was happening. Whispers spread through the corridors. It's Steph Curry. Why is he here? What's happening? Room 314. Curry stopped in front of the door, breathed deeply, and entered. Marcus was sitting in bed, surrounded by his campaign materials, looking even smaller and more fragile than Curry had imagined. When he saw who had entered his room, his eyes widened, but not with the excitement one would expect from a child meeting his idol. Instead, there was something that seemed like recognition, as if he knew this moment would come. "You really came," Marcus said, echoing Maria's words. "You asked me to help other children. How could I not come? But I never sent the letter." Curry approached the bed and sat in the chair beside it, his eyes at the same level as Marcus's. The best letters arrive from the heart, not from the mail. Marcus studied Curry's face for a long moment, and then something changed in his expression. The maturity that had shocked everyone in recent months manifested completely. "You know, don't you, about me? I know you're fighting a battle much bigger than any game I've ever played. And you know that I might not, that maybe I won't win this battle." Curry nodded slowly, respecting Marcus's courage to face the truth that all the adults around him had avoided saying directly. "That's why you created all this," Curry said, gesturing to the scattered materials. "Because you want other children to win their battles." Exactly. And it was at that moment that Steph Curry understood he had been summoned not to teach, but to learn. An 8-year-old child, facing his own mortality, had dedicated his last energies to save other children. He had transformed his suffering into purpose. He had found a way to win even while losing. "Marcus, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to bring your project to life in a way you never imagined." "How?" "We're going to transform this entire hospital into an organ donation campaign, live, for the whole country to watch." Marcus tried to sit up straighter in bed, sudden energy lighting up his tired eyes. "You can do that?" "I can, but it will require breaking some rules." "What kind of rules?" "The kind of rules that prevent miracles from happening." Down the corridor, Dr. Harrison was walking quickly toward room 314, Jennifer beside him trying to explain a plan she didn't completely understand herself. "They want to do what? Turn my hospital into a television studio?" "Dr. Harrison, with all due respect, when was the last time you registered 10,000 new organ donors in a single day?" He stopped walking. 10,000? And that's just the beginning. Inside room 314, Marcus was explaining to Curry every detail of his campaign, every statistic he had memorized, every poster he had drawn, every word of hope he had written. And Curry was planning how to transform an 8-year-old child's dreams into the largest organ donation awareness campaign the country had ever seen. "Marcus, are you ready to save thousands of lives?" "I've been ready since the first day I arrived here." Outside the room, equipment continued arriving. A transformation was about to happen. And everyone in the hospital, patients, families, doctors, nurses, was about to become part of something that would forever change how they understood the concepts of hope, purpose, and miracles. 72 hours later, Maria Rodriguez was again in the third-floor corridor, tears running down her face. But this time, she wasn't alone. The entire hospital was crying. Experienced doctors who had seen everything, veteran nurses who thought they were immune to emotion, families who came to visit other patients and ended up witnessing something that would change their lives forever. Cleaning staff, security guards, volunteers, Everyone stopped their activities to watch what was happening in what was formerly known as the Room of Hope. The recreation room had been completely transformed. Where before there were simple tables and an old television, now there existed a professional broadcast studio, high-definition cameras, sound system that allowed every word to be heard with crystal clarity, lights positioned to create a welcoming, not clinical environment. And in the center of everything, a special table where Marcus Williams, discreetly connected to a portable heart monitor, was about to speak to the entire nation. There wasn't just Curry in the improvised studio. Kevin Durant had arrived the previous dawn. LeBron James canceled commitments and flew from Los Angeles. Other athletes, artists, and personalities who had seen Maria's viral post began appearing spontaneously. Everyone wanted to be part of Marcus's campaign. But the real magic wasn't in the celebrities present. It was in the ordinary people who had decided to become heroes. On the main screen, a real-time counter showed new organ donor registrations. The number rose constantly. 15,847. 15,800. 51. 15,856. Marcus, sitting next to Curry, watched the numbers with a mixture of wonder and satisfaction that transcended his physical condition. "Do you see this, Marcus?" Curry whispered. "Each number represents a family that decided to save lives because of your project." The live broadcast had started at 9 in the morning and had already lasted 4 hours. It wasn't just an organ donation campaign. It had become a national movement. Other children from the hospital had joined the broadcast, each sharing their story. Sarah, 12 years old, waiting for a liver transplant, showed her drawings about courage. Tommy, 6 years old, in treatment for leukemia, sang a song he wrote about small warriors. Lisa, 10 years old, explained how she wanted to become a doctor to help other children like her. Each story exponentially increased the number of registrations. Elena Williams was in the corner of the room, watching her son accomplish something she had never imagined possible. Her 8-year-old boy, who should have been playing at school, was leading a national consciousness revolution about organ donation. And he was doing it with a tranquility that only those who truly understand the value of life can achieve. "Marcus," said the national network presenter who had joined the broadcast, "what would you like to say to all the people who are watching?" Marcus looked directly at the main camera. His eyes, though tired, shone with a determination that crossed the screen and touched each person watching. "You can be heroes, too. You don't need to be famous like Steph Curry or play basketball in the NBA. You just need to decide that you want to help. Each person who registers as a donor can save up to 8 lives. That means you can be 8 times more heroes than any superhero in the movies." The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of the registration counter increasing even more rapidly. 23,429. 23,445. 23,467. Dr. Chen watched from the door, unable to believe what she was witnessing. In 15 years of medicine, she had saved hundreds of lives directly. But Marcus, in a single morning, was potentially saving thousands. At 2 in the afternoon, something even more extraordinary happened. Families from across the country began calling the hospital, not just to register as donors, but to share stories of loved ones who had been saved by transplants. What had started as Marcus's campaign transformed into a national celebration of human interconnection. A mother from Denver called to tell how her daughter had received a kidney at 5 years old and was now a college athlete. A 40-year-old man from Texas wanted Marcus to know he had received a new heart 10 years ago and had just become a grandfather. A teenager from Miami, who had received a liver transplant, sang an original song about gratitude. Each call was broadcast live, creating a network of hope stories that spread throughout the country. 45,000 registrations. Marcus was visibly tired, but refused to stop. "Just one more hour," he asked Dr. Chen. "Please, I can feel we're about to reach 50,000. Dr. Chen looked at the monitors. Marcus's vital signs were at the limit, but stable. And there was something in his eyes she had never seen before. It wasn't just determination. It was completeness. 1 hour, she agreed. At 3:15 in the afternoon, the counter reached 50,000 new donor registrations. The entire hospital exploded in applause. Patients who could leave their rooms joined the crowd in the corridor. Staff abandoned their posts to participate in the celebration. Families hugged each other, crying with joy for being part of something much bigger than themselves. Marcus looked at Curry, a tranquil smile lighting up his pale face. "I think we did it." "No, Marcus, you did it. We just helped you show the world who you really are." The broadcast ended at 4 in the afternoon with an image no one would ever forget. Marcus, surrounded by all the children from the hospital, by celebrities who had become friends, by doctors and nurses who had become family, and by thousands of people watching at home who had become part of his mission. He spoke his last words to the cameras with a serenity that defied his age. "Today, you helped me save 50,000 lives. Tomorrow, those 50,000 people will help save even more lives." And so on. That's what I call a human miracle. The cameras turned off. Equipment began being collected. But the transformation that had happened in that hospital was permanent. Maria Rodriguez walked slowly down the corridor, now silent after the day's emotional storm. She stopped in front of room 314, where Marcus slept peacefully, with Curry sitting beside the bed, holding his small hand. On the room's television, which remained on, the evening news reported that the movement initiated by Marcus had spread internationally. Hospitals in other countries were organizing their own campaigns. Organ donation organizations reported unprecedented increases in registrations. A single child, with a letter that was never sent, had changed the world. Maria looked at Curry, who seemed to have no intention of leaving anytime soon. "He's at peace," she whispered. "He taught all of us how to find peace," Curry responded. "How to transform suffering into purpose. How to win even when we lose." On the room wall, now hanging in a golden frame, was Marcus's original letter to Curry. Just below, a small plaque with a simple inscription. "In memory of Marcus Williams, the boy who taught the world that everyone can be heroes." And outside the window, the sun set over Oakland, painting the sky with colors that seemed to celebrate the day humanity rediscovered its capacity to perform miracles through love.